Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. I have empty hands today, no tea, because instead I'm doing an announcement video, and it's not all about me, so it's not so much taking tea. However, in subsequent videos I shall be taking tea. Never fear. But this is exciting, as most announcements are, because I am announcing a readathon, of which I am one of the 10 hosts. And it is a library love readathon, as in love your library. And here are the hosts before I explain. Some of these are booktubers, most of them are, but there are some bookstagrammers in here. I will link below, which is probably good because I might mispronounce at least something in here. We have Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads, Tiffany at Beautiful Minutiae, Kate Howe, who actually started this whole initiative, Melissa at Fully Booked, Rainey at Rainey Day Reads, Chelsea, Voyage of a Time Wanderer, Jessica at Jeja or Jeha, I don't know, Admirers of Words and Coffee. Sounds great, right? Naomi at Naomi's Bookshelf, and Petra U. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and me makes 10. I had to make sure I had everybody here. And the actual readathon takes place from the 6th to the 19th of February, which is about 2 weeks in February. And you may say, oh, I've already kind of joined up with other readathons this month. I'm not sure I'm going to have time to. It's really not a matter of time, because with these prompts, you can actually work with other readathons, etc., group reads, because the main deal in encouraging this love for your library is to read books that have been checked out of your public library. So for the most part, I always think of actually going to the library with my card and either putting books on hold or walking around and looking at books and taking them out, which I love. But you can also take out digital books. So if you can't leave your home right now, because that is still something that happens, or if you're just a little bit far from a library or don't have any plans to go to one, you can get ebooks, you can get audiobooks, you can get probably other things that I'm not thinking of. But yes, so digital is definitely a thing. And so what goes along with this entire readathon is, or readathon, read along, read what you will, really, because there's not one group read here, is just using books that you checked out from the library. And to make it more fun, each host has a theme with about 3 prompts, and the theme sort of corresponds with the part of the library as well, and everybody else will on their videos will tell you about their theme as well. So we'd be here all night if I went into every single one, so I'll tell you about mine. And I try to make it as because it's like a choose your own adventure, but it's also kind of a work with other adventures too. A lot of the prompts, or pretty much all the prompts that I have here, can work in some way with everybody else's prompts, just because I made it that vague. So there's a lot of different parts of the library. My theme is pairings, which is completely on brand for me because I am all about pairing tea and books. And in this case, you can be quite literal, and you could take these as things that you would have with your book as well. But I really mean more in your choice of book, but have fun with it either way. So pairings, I'm saying there's 3 different prompts, so 3 different ways you can pair these particular things based on being in a cafe. And that is the part of the library that I'm representing, which may make people raise their eyebrows. You know, isn't it usually the occasional bookshop that has a cafe? And that's true. Very few libraries have cafes. However, in the area, not too far from where I work, one of the actual pretty big libraries, there was a whole renovation, etc. They made it really nice, new and gleaming and everything. Looks really great, but they added a cafe. I don't think it's open right now because most of the seating is outdoors, which is beautiful because you also have really good views of the city. But it's an actual cafe, and that kind of gave me my idea, because even though it's rare, it's possible. So, you know, just pretend. This is all using your imagination. Pretend your local library has a nice little cozy cafe to the side that you would maybe borrow some books and curl up with a book in the cafe and just not spill anything on there, which I shouldn't talk about because I did recently spill something on a book, but it was my book, so, but still, whoever's book it is, you don't want to do that. All right, so let me get started with the prompts. The first prompt, and like I said, it's cafe based. So picture you're sitting in a cafe and you decide to get a warm drink. So that's the first one, warm drink. And now when you think of a warm drink, what do you think of? Well, it depends on who you are. Obviously with me, my first thought is tea, because I am Catherine from Taking Tea with Catherine. But it could also be coffee. It could be hot chocolate. It could be mulled wine. I mean, if you want to get into alcohol. Hot apple cider. I was gonna say like Theraflu, but let's not get into that. Something that you could probably order in a cafe of some sort. But this gives it a little bit of leeway as well, because a warm drink could be a very invigorating drink, like a cup of coffee that will wake you up and make you a bit hyper. I don't know if you noticed, but I've had my cheap coffee today. So I might be talking even faster than usual. If you need to slow down this video, there are ways to do so on YouTube. But yeah, so you can pick a book that wakes you up, whether it wakes you up to social issues or it's just such a action-packed book, you know, with the story that makes you really keep reading and just keeps you up at night. Anything that you could think of as invigorating, or it could be calming, like a cup of chamomile tea, you know, or sleepy time or whatever, which I think has chamomile as well, that you would drink to wind down. So maybe just a relaxing, maybe a nice, cozy classic that just doesn't put you to sleep, but definitely lowers your blood pressure. Or it could be a drink that just is good for your, you know, just warming. And so that kind of is similar to a calming tea, but even with an invigorating cup of tea or like a caffeinated drink, beverage, you, you could feel sort of comforted and relaxed sometimes from any of these type of drinks. So whatever kind of book that you would pick from the library, it would just have any of these feelings. So the next thing you might order at a cafe is something sweet. So of course, if you're in a cafe, you might get a muffin, which is a little bit sweet, a piece of cake, a cookie, a brownie, a scone sometimes is a little sweet. Could be also a sweet beverage, but yeah, we already covered beverage. But if you didn't want a warm beverage, you might have gotten something like I don't know, like a frappuccino. I don't know. So anyway, that's enough about the actual order, but what kind of book do you think of when you think of something sweet? It might be an animal story. It might be a children's book, which does go along with at least one prompt from another host that I can think of. Or you might think of sweet romance. That's a thing that a lot of people like to read, romances that aren't too, well, that are sweet. So anything, it could even be maybe a little bit too sweet. You know, something a little, ooh, that was just a little bit too cheery, but maybe that's just what you're in the mood for. You know, if you're in the middle of February, sometimes you need a little something to keep you sweet, because winter can get a little bit bitter. At least where I live, it's getting a little bit bitter. So that's another choice. And the last one is try something new. Now, I know when I go into a cafe, I tend to have my things. This is what I like to order when I come here. This place, I will get this sandwich. This place, I will get this beverage. And rarely do I change that. But every once in a while, it's nice when you go to a familiar cafe and you say, you know, I wonder what this is like. Maybe I will have the salad. Does a cafe do a good salad? I don't know. It's a bit of a risk, but sometimes it's good to try something new. Now, this actually does span a lot of choices as well, because new could just mean a new release. And that covers a decent amount of time, because if you've been to a library or a bookshop really, and you've been to the new release section, sometimes it's not something that just came out within the year. Sometimes it's like 2 years. So you can allow yourself a little bit of wiggle room here. It doesn't have to be just hot off the presses. So a new book, maybe it's a new book by an author that you've been reading for years and you've been waiting for this book. So you're trying something new. But that's still kind of a little bit in your comfort zone, which is fine, but you may want to try something new altogether. I mean, a new series from an author that you've already had some enjoyment of their books, that's fine too. Or a new genre, something that you almost never read, or you just don't remember the last time you read. Maybe you don't read a lot of YA. Maybe you don't read a lot of science fiction. Maybe you don't read a lot of biography. Something that you've been meaning to try. Try it now. This is a good time to do it. And there's also, what else is new? Well, anything new. A new author, new to you, basically. A little bit of change. And the good thing about a library is that sometimes you want to try something new when you're in a bookshop and you buy a book, even on a discount sometimes. A new book is pretty expensive for the average person. And I've had this happen to me where I've taken a new book. I've purchased a new book from a bookshop and I'm all excited and I get it home and I read it and I'm like, oh, I can't believe I just spent $20 odd on this. Oh no. Now I don't even like this book, or I don't care for it that much, and what a waste of money. I'm not saying that you can't ever do that. Sometimes risk is good no matter what. But the best part about the library is you try something new and it ends up being disappointing. All you have to do is return it. You didn't have to pay a thing for this library book. It's fantastic. So, and then of course, if you do love it, now you've discovered something that you love that's new to you. And maybe now you're excited about that. Or maybe you're not. So either way, the risk is very much alleviated. Of course, in the long run, sometimes I know I've done this where I have taken a book out of the library and loved it so much that I had to have my own copy of it. So, yes, it's still risky because you may end up buying a book in the long run. But at least now you can try something without worrying too much about money. Now, you can't always do that when you're in a cafe because you try something and you don't like it. Not a lot of cafes will just say, well, I'll just take it back and replace it. Although it has happened to me. I did try one time. Sorry, a little bit of a side story. I went to a cafe that was a tea sort of cafe, and I ordered for some reason the tomato soup. I hate tomatoes, but I for some reason thought it would be like, I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but it was very tomatoey, and they saw me take one taste and they didn't like it. I didn't like it, and they took it back and replaced it with a different soup. No charge. I was very impressed by that, but you cannot expect that in a cafe. But you can expect it at the library. You go a few pages into a book and you say, all right, so I'm not going to beat this point to death, but I just thought this is a really fun opportunity. And in the weeks to come, especially I think during those 2 weeks, well, before that, I will come up with my own TBR for other things too, but especially for this particular, which hopefully 3 library books I'm going to choose for these prompts, and maybe other prompts, we'll see, from other hosts. And I also hope to do a couple more videos talking about my own relationship with public libraries, because it's something that I think we need to encourage a bit more. I know some people have been a little hesitant in recent years because of everything. Maybe they don't feel like going to these places where people borrow books and, put their hands all over it and then return it. But libraries need love too, and sometimes it's a resource that really needs to be tapped into that you may have just kind of pushed to the side for a while. So we're encouraging it, and I think I've said enough about it. I hope that you enjoy the idea of this challenge, and I hope you enjoy the other hosts' prompts and suggestions, because I think it's just great. So I'm gonna wrap it up for now. This is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book from the library filled day. Bye.